Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to paint the camouflage fatigues for Colonial Marines. If you'd like to support me, the Ko-fi and Patreon pages are linked below. Now onto the video. So the first colour we're going to use is Citadel Nurgling Green, and this is going to be to paint the base coat for all of the fatigues. So it's been sprayed with Death Guard Green prior to starting the video, because a lot of the colours on this are going to be green, or on the miniature are going to be green. Made sense to paint it all in a green to begin with. And if you miss a bit, it's only green showing through. Once you've got all the green done, we can move on to the next colour. So next up we're going to be using Citadel Thondia Brown. For this we're going to be doing slight little patterns, almost like you'd see on kind of modern fatigues, where you would have small splodges with thinnish lines moving out from those splodges. So when I was looking for images to copy the camouflage and stuff, you can find plenty of images of Colonial Marines. What I found, and what I think I explained in the video where I was doing the armour as well, was that the actual images are taken generally in a different light, so they're not taken under white light, they're either darkened or they've got red or yellow kind of hues to them because of the lighting of where they're taken, and it makes it difficult to exactly pinpoint what colours they would be wearing. Now from that I went on to having a look at different cosplays and things like that, and there seem to be a fair few different types of camouflage fatigues in there as well, and different kinds of DPM. So what I did was I copied the patterns from the fatigues and I went with what seemed to be a common colour for the kind of background material, which is the Nurgling Green once it's been shaded. But once it all comes together you'll see what the camouflage looks like, as that green does look really, really bright to begin with, but we do dull it down with the shade a little bit later on. Next up we're going to use Citadel Balor Brown. I'm going to do similar to what we've just done with the Thondia Brown. We can kind of work that around the edges of some of that Thondia Brown to make it look like the lines jutting out from those initial Thondia Brown blobs are going into the Balor Brown. So you're probably doing as much Balor Brown as you are doing the Thondia Brown, and you're sort of splitting up those areas, putting it between the different Thondia Brown sections, working it around those edges. If you want to, you can also do little pieces jutting into the larger areas of Thondia Brown, so it kind of mixes in. So you have those Balor Brown lines going into the Thondia Brown, and the Thondia Brown lines going into the Balor Brown. Now we're going to use a little bit of Citadel Rakath Flesh. And this is going to be used to do a few little lines around the edges of different sections. It's not really used too much, but it is used to do thin lines around certain parts of the camouflage, and also to do very small areas between as well. So nowhere near as much Rakath Flesh as you have the Thondia Brown and the Balor Brown. You're just using little tiny bits here and there. That breaks up the initial pattern with the original 2 or 3 colours. You can see here that we haven't really got that much Rakath Flesh being used. is just these smaller areas, as I say. Once you're happy with the Rakath Flesh, we can move on to the next colour. So next up we're going to use Vallejo White, but whichever white you use generally is fine. And this is going to be for even less than the Rakath Flesh. It's going to be used to do little thin lines around the edges of some of the camouflage colours, but it is just going to be little thin lines. There isn't any splodges of this. You're just going around certain edges and giving that little spots of white there. So you want to continue doing these little lines, little edgings to the camouflage sections. And once you've finished them, we can come on to the final part, which brings it all together. Finally, to bring this all together, I'm going to use some Citadel Athonian Camoshade. We're just going to go over the whole lot of the fatigues, every colour. It doesn't matter about doing separate colours for separate parts. Just going to go over the whole thing with the Athonian Camoshade. What that does is dull down the brightness of that Nurgling green. It also kind of draws all those camouflage colours together as well. When you look at DPM, what you tend to find is that the material it's all printed on will have like an overriding kind of colour, like a colour that you can see almost fibres of across the whole thing. And I think by adding the Athonian Camoshade, that does dull down the Nurgling green and give everything that slight hint of green, as though that's the colour of the material coming through. Once you've finished that camouflage and the Athonian Camoshade, you have your completed fatigues. So this is the finished miniature with all the rest of the parts painted up too. You can see how those combats look there. Really happy with how the camouflage turned out. It goes well with that camouflaged armour on the chest and the helmet too. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media, linked below. Thanks very much. If you like the channel and you enjoy the content, I'd appreciate your support through our Ko-fi and Patreon pages, linked below. Thanks very much.